Hey everybody, grateful to be here. Um, we're very excited about today's episode and today's training. So before we dive into what we're calling behind the scenes of the Expert Content Society, um, if you are watching on social, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, and you're interested in learning more about the Expert Content Society, and after we kind of take you through the overview and a little peek behind the scenes, and you're interested to kind of find out more about it and how you could potentially join our private community, all you have to do is type the word me, M-E, in the comments below, and I will send you the link where you can go check out the Expert Content Society. If you are listening to this on the podcast, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcast from, super easy. There'll be a link in the description of the episode that takes you right to the Expert Content Society page. You can read all about it, find out about how you can join, and we do hope to see you in there. So, Nancy and I have been talking a lot most recently, not just about content, but about how AI is now here and it's not going anywhere, and how it can be leveraged the right way to properly help you create better content. Now, here's the thing. The one thing that Nancy and I always like to debunk first and foremost is you're not using ChatGPT and just asking it to write a post for you, copying it, and then pasting it onto LinkedIn. So the issue is that's what a lot of people have a problem with. The people that are complaining about the content that they're seeing, oh, it's so AI, it's so generic, it's so there's tons of emojis and finger pointings and all that stuff. It's because just like with any new tool or thing that people can use, people are getting lazy. They are just pushing the easy, quick button and just saying, hey, chat, write me a post about this. And then they copy, paste it. It's not in their tone of voice, it's not in their verbiage, it's not even something that they even know to be true to talk about. And that's what we really want to kind of debunk today. We want to kind of talk through how and why the Expert Content Society, which is been specifically created to help coaches, consultants, and business professionals with the help of custom GPT prompts, so questioning prompts to help extract your zone of genius, your voice, your tone, your verbiage, your expertise. And after enough questions are answered, it builds it into a beautiful thought leadership post that you can then use on LinkedIn. So, Nance, why don't you kind of dive into the overview of what the Expert Content Society is, and then I do want to give a little bit of background about how we actually got to this point through how and when I got started on LinkedIn 13 years ago.
Yeah. So, Expert Content Society is something very different, right? And it's great that we're kind of doing this little behind the scenes, walkthrough because there are so many simple ways to use it where, just like Scott said, if you're just using, the tools that we've created and you're knocking out your content, you can jump in, you can grab what you need, and you can schedule and go, right? But we wanted to really create not just a membership where, you subscribe and you're grabbing what you need. You also have a community, right? Of other service professionals. These are other people who are posting content, who are also creating. And we're all in this together. We know, and in fact, I always tell Scott, right? Marketing is not an exact science, it's an art. And a science, right? So we mix together a little bit of, the equation for what works well. We put together a lot of, research and, market research on what is working and what isn't. And, it's really been such a labor of love to really reverse engineer what I would do. So if I was a huge marketing firm, okay, and I was tasked to help someone or help a service-based business, reverse engineer an entire year's worth of content that they could create to really build out their personal brand, And that's what we have done. And every single month, we don't just drop like a month of content, like topics. It's literally like individual questions and individual content that you can create to build your brick house of credibility. Scott.
I just want to kind of go back to something that you said because this actually got pulled from a conversation that you and I had a few days ago where we were trying to figure out how can we best explain this to someone and how beneficial it is. And I think when we kind of landed on the fact that what we've created in the Expert Content Society is your marketing and branding firm. Because what a marketing and branding firm would do, not only are you paying 5, 10, $15,000 a month for that branding firm, they're going to ask you questions. They're going to prompt you with specific things that they need to find about you, your ideal audience, your target audience, your client, their problems, the things that they're looking for solutions for. And once you answer all those questions, they're going to then have to go into the back end of what they have, create whatever they want to create for you, and then hand it to you, and then you take it from there. But what if you could shortcut all of that and not only save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but really have that version of your own marketing and branding firm in your back pocket at all times. And that's exactly what the Expert Content Society is.
Absolutely. And Scott, it was so funny the other day. I was like, all right, I'm going to drill you. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and I'm going to say, like, what, is the biggest benefit? What is the biggest difference between just using ChatGPT or, and it's so funny because I'm so in it and Scott's so in it, right? Because, we're the ones building it. We're kind of eat, sleeping, and breathing, everything within the community. But I kind of looked at it with fresh eyes today because I knew we were going to do this episode and we're really going to kind of share behind the scenes. Ugh, it is like the thing that I always wish existed when I first started my agency. And sorry, I've got four dogs here, all wanting attention. I really built the thing that we really needed, right, for the longest time. And that was, well, if we bring on any new client who is in the service-based industry and they're looking to build their thought leadership, right, the type of content that we know is going to make your leads go from cold to warm to hot a lot quicker because you're building that credibility, right? You are building that framework and that outline. The thing, that I always wish that we had because every time a new service-based professional would come in, and that's who we work with, people who work one-on-one who need to build that trust and that know, like, and trust, right, with their audience before, they do business with them. And the struggle was with every single person, well, how do I create content that sounds like me and that really gets across my core values, my mission, tell stories, like real things that really happened when I don't really want to be the one or I'm not great at creating content. So we would help, we would kind of interview these clients and we would ask questions and we would pull these things out of them. But again, no one is you. So you creating the content and you putting out your thought leadership into the world is the best way to do this. Well, great. Now we have AI, which can speed up the process. But again, guys, just hitting the button, like Scott said, and just asking a simple question is not going to get you the output. I mean, again, AI is getting pretty darn good, but it's not going to get you the perfect output. And it's also not you. So you still need to be sharing those stories. And so, again, what we've built is this framework. Really, that's a reverse engineering of exactly what a huge high-level marketing firm would do whenever they were really, building the personal brand for a client in this way. So it's so different. It's hard to, again, put exactly into words, but the content that you guys get every single month is amazing. The content that you already have in there, right? We've already got about 5 to 6 months worth of amazing themed out content to help you, tell your story and really showcase what you do in a non-spammy way that's optimized for LinkedIn. It's a game changer.
So let me give you the 13-year story in just a couple minutes. So when I started leveraging LinkedIn to grow my online coaching and consulting practice back in 2013, the platform was very much different And I would say it remained the same up until about 3 years ago. Up until about 3 years ago, you could still get away with producing minimal content and just connecting and messaging to fill your pipeline, to generate sales. And something shifted. And it's not necessarily just AI that caused things to shift, but I think LinkedIn itself started to see that there was an overabundance of spammy, pitchy, gross messages being sent. So they started to put all these restrictions and all these limitations on how many people you could connect with, you know, all the different people that were sending messages, banning people for automation, which people were taking that shortcut. And it kind of left this void in, well, then how do you get in front of more people? Because the easiest way that you could get in front of someone's face on LinkedIn was directly messaging them. But now that was starting to slow down, and it's slowed down even more. LinkedIn started to really reward people for the quality of their content. Now, this started with some basic quote tiles. This started with some LinkedIn live videos or some short form videos, but it's really taken off in the last year and a half, which coincidentally aligns with the uh, insertion of AI, an AI strategy into people creating content. So Nancy and I were early adapters in getting into ChatGPT when it first launched in November of 2023. So it'll be almost 2 years ago this November that they officially started pushing out OpenAI. And when we first started using it, obviously it was still new, it was still collecting a lot of information, and it's nowhere near where it is today. But what Nancy and I started to see is that, we taught a content creation process. I saw very early on, even before AI, the shift to thought leadership content, to storytelling, to giving high valued content. But full transparency, in all honesty, and for those that are watching or listening, it takes so much time to create all that content. So then what do people do? They get lazy and they start just really repurposing a bunch of content that is not relevant, it's not streamlined, and it's not really hitting home. So then when AI came about, people started using it. But as I alluded to in the early portions of this training and of this episode, is that people were even getting lazy with that. And they were just asking chat, hey, write me a post for this, write me a post for that, and then copying and pasting. And what Nancy and I really wanted to do from a visual standpoint, but also for those that are listening, we're going to kind of walk you through, uh, not just visually, but in your minds, we're going to describe what the difference is between the Expert Content Society and other platforms out there. You're going to really see the big difference in having a prompting, marketing, and branding firm in the form of our community in your back pocket to help you with your thought leadership and storytelling content on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. So, can we do a little share screen?
Well, so for those that are watching on social, we're going to be doing a share screen, but for those that are listening, I'm going to describe to you exactly what the Expert Content Society is and what it looks like from a back end. It's very simple. It's a, private community. But again, if you're listening on the podcast, it's almost better after you're done listening, go right to our 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 Expert Content Society page so you can learn more about it. You can get a little sneak peek as to what it is. Those that are watching on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you are seeing it live and direct right now. But if you're listening on the podcast, we're going to describe to you how it's set up, how it works, how it could benefit you. But do take a look at it after we're done today's episode.
Absolutely. So I'm going to do a share screen, but even, again, as I talk through this and share a little bit of, the behind the scenes of what this looks like, Keep in mind that we also have the ability to have a phone app, so you guys can access this on your phone. We have many members that actually do everything from their phone. So you have that ability as well. I'm a desktop girl, so I love having my desktop and then my, multiple windows open. So whatever works for you is absolutely fine. But just kind of sharing this screen here is what you are going to see when you come into the community. Okay, we've got this nice little homepage, which tells you exactly where to go to get started. Okay, so whenever you go to get started and you join, this little new members section, you guys are guided through exactly what to do to get going. Okay, not only with the Expert Content Society, but also to make sure that you are ready to hit the ground running on LinkedIn. Okay, you're going to fill out some things so we can customize your experience. In fact, we love, okay? In fact, like Scott mentioned, we are at the cutting edge, of all the AI technology and also, making sure that we are relevant for all different industries. And so as we learn more about our members, we create even more, fine-tuned, optimized content for different industries. And so in the getting started section, right, it's just how to, optimize your LinkedIn profile, what the whole deal is behind the LinkedIn content strategy, right? Why are we doing this in the first place? And it guides you all the way to creating your first post. Okay. So super simple, nice and easy to get, started in there. And the one spot, and again, I'm not even going to go anywhere else, right? If you're going to use the Expert Content Society super efficiently and you're like, you know what? I just want to get my content done. I want to get in. I want to get out. The best place to go is the Content Hub, right? This is where we are going to have all of the content that you need to really build out that thought leadership, build out your personal brand. And so for everyone listening, right, clicking on the Content Hub, you'll be taken to our main page, which is pretty awesome, right? Because it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey. You could be posting content for a while already, or you could be just starting. And so in the Content Hub page, you have a whole section where there are tons of different content prompts to choose from previous months that we've already posted. So, for example, we've done an entire month all on establishing your personal brand. We've done thought leadership and industry authority, engagement and community building, so on and so forth, right? So every single month, remove the month name, it's just a theme of content, right? All around building out your know, like, and trust and your thought leadership. So I'm just giving you an example, right? I'm going to click on one of these themes. And the one that I clicked on is, establishing the foundations of your personal brand. And this is a really big one because this is where you build that credibility and that foundation. And so this month was really, really a great month. That's where we shared things like your origin story. We share things like, the reason why you do what you do and how you help your clients. And we do this all in a very non-spammy way. So for everyone who is watching, I'm just going to show you an example. Okay, so this is actually our most recent content hub that I'm going to talk through, the one that we just released in July. And this one's big focus was all about building credibility through proof and perspective. Okay, this is showing that you know your stuff, you're an expert, you are that industry leader, and again, makes it a clear choice, right, for someone to come to you to solve the problem, that you solve in their area. So what we're going to look at is, it breaks it down by week. We've got week 1, we've got week 2, week 3, week 4. I have two separate types of posts broken down. So you get basic posts and you get advanced posts. Now, your basic posts are always going to include a text post, a poll post, an image and quote post, and then your advanced posts. So if you're kind of in the groove or you're getting started and you're really wanting to put yourself out there, it'll create a video post, which is a nice little script that you can use to kind of, go through and create a video, along with the post to go along to promote that video, a carousel, and a newsletter, right? So a LinkedIn newsletter is a huge way to build your personal brand. So every single week in each of these themed content packs, you get a breakdown. So that's 6 to choose from each week. And, Scott always says, right, the minimum that you really should be posting on LinkedIn, right? We want more quality over quantity, but you should be posting at least 3 times a week. Okay. So in here, when you click on the specific post, what you can see is what the post is, what the topic is. So this one's industry patterns most people miss, the type of post again, and then the purpose. So this particular post is to share a common problem, theme, or blind spot you notice in your industry and position yourself as an expert. We give you a little bit of a prompt overview so you get a feel of what the post is all about. And every single one is connected to an AI tool that you can click right into and you can click get started and it will start prompting you and asking you questions to really peel back and, help you build out a really amazing post. So, Scott, anything you want to throw in there just about the individual posts?
Well, the more specific you are with the input, the better the output is going to be. Now, the key with utilizing a GPT, which again is a marketing and branding tool. So Nancy builds every single one of these every single month. So she literally sits in her laboratory and creates 24 new ones per month. Now, the great thing is the better, like the simple adage, you can talk to any expert in the AI space. They will always tell you the better the input, the better the output. It's just like what Maria Forleo says, wishy-washy goals, wishy-washy results, right? So we always tell people that one of the my favorite tools within ChatGPT is that there's a little microphone at the bottom of the desktop and on the mobile app where if it's better for you to do talk to text where you can really kind of get out your thoughts, that's what I typically do. So I don't just want to sit there and try to type as much information as possible. I will hit the microphone and I will just go on a roll. So when you're using these prompts, like, so just to give you an idea, there's a prompt that we have in there called the biggest shift in your industry. And it's going to give you a text post that you can also do an image along with it. If you want to kind of, if you're more into doing imagery with text, that's fine. Or if you just want to do a text by itself, but you would literally click the get started button and it would then kick in. It would say, great, you're about to create a post. Let's kick things off. What industry are you speaking to and about in this post? And for me, it's coaches, consultants, and those that are, providing services. So it'll say, perfect. You're speaking to business coaches and consultants. Next question. What is a shift or a change that is happening in your industry that people need to know more about that you're talking? So for me, I was talking about the biggest shift in general is that people are still relying too much on just general outreach, like connecting and messaging. And that's obviously not doing it. It's not filling people's pipelines. So it's really kind of exposing that. So after you go through that and you hit enter, it's going to give you another question. That's a strong insight and very timely. Here's the next question. Why do you think this trend matters? So, what are the possible consequences or missed opportunities? So, I gave a specific reason of why this trend matters because you need to have new leads to fill your pipeline. And if you don't, and you're gonna quickly run out of that. Now, the other great thing that we do want to let people know is if you're kind of new to using ChatGPT and you're new to building your brand on LinkedIn and you want a little bit more of maybe some options or direction of where you can go with the input that you're giving the GPT, we always include a suggest area. So if you're just not sure, you can always just type in the word suggest and our GPT will give you a bunch of different options. So when I clicked suggest, it gave me four options. If coaches keep relying on cold outreach, they'll get ignored or burned out fast. It's changing how buyers build trust. The shift is already shaping. If you don't adapt, someone with half your experience but better content will win the client. And you could say, great, I want to go with number four. Or you can use your own information, which, again, if you're clear on what you're doing, you've used it before, then you can do that. So you pump it in, it's going to go great. That's clear and a compelling reason that ties to the content to survival and growth. Now let's lock in the next piece. If you were mentoring someone facing this shift, What's one piece of advice or real life insight you'd share to help them navigate it? So I wrote, if I was mentoring someone, I would do this, right? I would share my real life experience. And then, just as you should with any text post or image text post, you want to include three hashtags. So one should be relatable to like you, like your name or your company. And then two should be related to your industry. So hashtag LinkedIn tips, hashtag expert content society. So then it's going to come up with a really catchy title. So, most coaches are still playing by 2021 rules and wondering why their pipeline is dry. And then it's going to take all of the information I get it and it's going to come up with a beautiful, beautiful text post. Now, you have some options here. When you get the output, if it's to your liking, it's in your verbiage, you can copy it and then you can get it scheduled and posted onto LinkedIn. Now, if you want to tweak some things, you want to add some things, you want to remove some things, then you can then take it, copy it, and then put it into a Microsoft Word document or a Google Doc, edit it from there, and then you can also, then after it's edited, copy it and then post it or schedule it onto LinkedIn. Now, the other good thing is maybe you didn't like the first sentence, which Nancy and I call the hook. Maybe you didn't like it. You can ask, hey, can you give me some different hook options that will engage my audience? So it'll give you a couple different subtopics: bold and contrarian, curiosity and disruption, insightful and reflective, direct and urgent. So, to give you an example, if I was going to go with curiosity and disruption, here's what I did when my pipeline completely dried up. That's going to stop someone's scroll. Or maybe direct and urgent. Content isn't an option anymore. It's your lifeline. So you can kind of have fun with this and it will change that first line and then it will continue with your content from there. So the great thing is this helps you with the content creation process, number one. Number two, it helps you really share your tone, your expertise, your skill set, right? The void that you are looking to fill for the clients that you do want to work with, but it's also going to increase your visibility on the platform because LinkedIn is rewarding its members for the quality of their content. They do not want just basic content. They want deep, meaningful content that is leaving people better. Now, one of the most exciting things about the Expert Content Society, as Nancy kind of forementioned, is that this isn't like a membership where you have to go through content A, content, or, prompt B, prompt C. You can pick your poison in the sense of each month has a theme. So if you want to do a smorgasbord of your content, like, if you go in right now, if you were to click on the library, that's going to kind of give you a sneak peek. But, we have thought leadership and industry authority content. We have establishing your personal brand. We have engagement and community building. So again, you can decide what prompts you want to use because once you go to the content hub, you're going to see all the different themed content is there. So the library of your content is the content hub itself. And you're going to see in the content hub, it's going to have a library of different things. Now, we also have a a journey in the sense of like what's to come. So if people are like, well, what's coming down the pike? What kind of content or themes are going to be coming out in August or September or October and November? Well, we have all of that. So you can always go into the Expert Content Society and you can see what is coming up in the next few months. Nance?
Yep. And so, the other thing, like we mentioned before, we have such exciting things coming around the bend because we like to stay up to date. We've had requests by members, to be able to have content, if they create a new service or if they are deciding to, focus on launching their book or podcast. And so we've actually built out some tools that we're going to be releasing as well to support launches and, different types of changes in your business. And again, just as a reminder, okay, and what I want to get into now, okay, so we've given you kind of a sneak peek, right? We haven't even covered the full, gamut because we do have like challenges for people to complete each month for their content. All you got to do is post your content, let us know. We've got challenges so that you can share, some of your analytics and what's working well. We've got daily posts, that our team actually shares to help you with engagement. How do you engage with the posts that you already have done? And we've got a place to network. But what I want to do now is move to some of the most common questions, right, that we typically get, for people who are either thinking about joining the community or, who are just asking, well, what is this all about? So the big question that we get is, will this work for me and my niche? So again, this is for service-based businesses. Okay. In most businesses, you're either product or service, meaning you help people, you work with people one-on-one, or you sell products. And so for the Expert Content Society, this is for service-based professionals. We work with attorneys, health insurance brokers, sales reps, anyone under the sun, again, who is having, sales and having one-on-one conversations. So again, it will absolutely work for your niche. In fact, I've done every single month, what I do is you'll see with the tool that we actually share under each one. So it could be like a text, a video, what have you. I actually do a video walking through how to use it and to show you, right, what the output looks like. And I have fun with it sometimes. So I'll put in like a realtor, I'll put in an attorney, I'll put in a mindset coach. So it is all, again, customized to you and your business. Okay. So the other question that we typically get is, well, what exactly do I get each month? What exactly is included in this membership? Is this the same thing as just like using ChatGPT? So, I mean, Scott, you can kind of go through the overview.
Well, I kind of alluded to it early. It's not just like using ChatGPT. So that's the lazy way of you just going on to ChatGPT, opening up a chat and saying, "Hey, write a post for me for LinkedIn, for coaches and consultants." And basically, it's not going to be as directive and it's not going to be as branded towards you than it would be as if you were using the Expert Content Society, because we build every single one of these prompts out by hand. So Nancy partners with me and says, well, what's working on LinkedIn? What content is really hitting home? What topics should people be talking about within their specialty and within their niche? And that's the difference. Again, it's comparing apples to bowling balls. Anyone can go onto ChatGPT and ask it to write you a post and then basically just post it from there. But the difference between that and the Expert Content Society is that you get 24 customized prompts per month every month. So the longer that you're in the membership, the more access you're going to have to the content that you need to put on LinkedIn. And the fact is that we're giving you 6 different types of content per week. As Nancy alluded to, you get a text image post, you get a poll question, you get a quote tile, you get a newsletter edition, you get a video outline script, and you get a carousel post. And I have tested every single one of these out, and I will truly say, and I share this with Nancy every single week, my impressions and my engagement has never been higher since I started using these prompts, because it's really allowing me to get my voice out there in the way that I really, really wanted to in a written way. Yes, I'm great at doing that on video, but it just wasn't converting into the written style until I started really using the Expert Content Society's prompts, right? My marketing and branding prompt system to really take my voice and to write it into compelling content that people can't help but engage with. And the more people that engage with your content, the more LinkedIn is going to show it to the ideal people that should be seeing it, which means you are going to fill that pipeline. Remember, every single one of these prompts is structured, right? There's a reason behind them. It's not just like we're saying, oh, create a prompt for this. No, it's highly detailed. Every question is with a purpose. And going back to something that I said earlier in the episode, this is just like having a marketing and branding firm in your back pocket at all times, because our Expert Content Society community has a mobile app. So no matter where you are, you can log on and you can get your content done. And again, you could sit down in literally about an hour and you can get all your content done for the entire week, and maybe even less, because the more that you use it, the better you're going to get at using it. And it is one of those things that once you get your content firing on all cylinders, there's no stopping your business. And this is why we really feel there's a lot of stuff out there, but we really wanted to be the community and the membership that was doing it the right way, helping people create the best content possible with their own voice, with their own tone, with their own information to really highlight them as one of the good ones on LinkedIn, not the spammers, not the people that are pitch slapping everyone. And to really, create that content, not that is polarizing, but it stops people in their tracks, right? This is where things really take off. And that's why we are so excited to share this with people and, why we're excited to have people be a part of it.
Yep, absolutely. And, I have, for anyone who's watching right now, I just have a little diagram, of, what actually goes into creating the monthly content hubs. And that's kind of like the last question, right? We'll kind of wrap it up is again, and Scott said this multiple times, what makes us so different, but you guys really have no idea, and it's funny because I really feel like there's so many different ranges of expertise people have with AI right now, where you'll talk to everyone under the sun and they'll be like, oh, well, why don't you just do this? And why don't you just do that? Why don't you? I have done so much work to create these individual GPTs. Guys, it takes me hours. I know no one else wants to do this and no one else is doing this because I want quality content, right? I am so sick of creating like one tool and it just pumps out a bunch of generic stuff and it's not consistent. I want something that has very specific instructions that are tied to the latest LinkedIn algorithm data that we have. And it also ties to the LinkedIn best practices that are going to help you show up not like a silly person or like make you feel like you don't really know what you're doing, but make you show up like the professional that you are, right? Make you feel confident in hitting that button and hitting publish and putting yourself out there. Okay. So no matter what industry you're in, know that we've got your back, right? So these prompts and these monthly content hubs that we create with this themed out content, there's so much work that goes into it. Right. Research and outlining, like Scott said, partnering together and finding out what is working. Then it gets all mapped out, which takes hours, right? It's not just hitting a quick button because I'm sorry, again, AI still pumps out some pretty generic stuff. And so I've got to use, right, my marketing knowledge. Scott has to use his marketing brain to know what is working, right? We work with thousands of people, okay? Service-based professionals. Then those instructions get created, guys. I do that myself, okay? Because I know that slight tweaks can affect the output, right? If I want a certain amount of hashtags, if I want to make sure there's not a ton of emojis, if I want to make sure there's more white space and everything is to best practices, especially with the amount of characters, so on and so forth, awesome, right? That can be built out, and that's exactly what we do. And then those prompts are created for you. Then they're run through a quality, posting test, meaning I go through and test every single one. And again, the cool thing is our users will use them and they'll go, oh my gosh, this one hit a home run. And then maybe another one will go, hey, can we tweak this? Or maybe can we update this or whatever? Heck yeah, right? I can jump back in and kind of retool if needed. But what we're getting, just like Scott said, okay, he's getting great results. We've had members in our community. Okay. I quote one of our members, Larry actually said he had in 1 week, he had the best week he's ever had in LinkedIn after being on the platform in 9 years.
Yeah.
He actually had someone reach out to him about his coaching. Okay. We have another member who the engagement skyrocketed and she feels so confident now. She's showing up on video every single week and people are loving it.
Well,
Okay.
well, in
So
addition, people are having their content reshared for the first time ever.
yes. Reshared. I mean, we're talking about not only engagement, impressions, we're having so much traction. And guys, this is what fills my heart, right? Because we want to help people build the businesses, right, that they've always wanted to have. I mean, we wrote the book, Feel Good Business Model. We want you to feel good about your business and what you're putting out there into the world. And we want you to have confidence. And this is what makes it so different is this is your human brain, your thoughts, your skills, your expertise just being pulled out of you and formatted into best practices with the help of AI.
The overall idea of the Expert Content Society is to grow this as big as we can, to have as many coaches, consultants, and service professionals be a part of it. So we know that the more people that use our prompts and are creating this kind of content, we know that their business is gonna grow. Because right now, what is trending, what is hitting home on LinkedIn is the quality of your content. So the better the content is, the better your pipeline will be filled. So at the end of the day, the reason why Nancy and I created this community and this membership is to help people to become as successful as they can on LinkedIn by the quality of the content that they're producing. So
Yep.
again, if you're watching on social, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, and you're interested in learning more about the Expert Content Society, just type the word me in the comments and we will send you the link where you can check it out. If you're listening on the podcast, super easy. The description of this episode has the link where it goes right to the page where it tells you all about the Expert Content Society, how it works, when you can join, how you can join, and we would love to see you be a part of it. So, everyone, we hope you enjoyed today's episode, but more importantly, we do hope to see you in the Expert Content Society. So, everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, love and gratitude, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye-bye.